Hey everybody, and welcome to the Writing Glitch. Today we are going to do a product review from the Changing Minds group, and we're going to look at Decoding Duo and the Morphology workbook that they have. Give me just a couple moments here, and I will be right back with you as we shift over to look at their product. Hey, wait, why don't you take a moment and subscribe to this podcast if you're enjoying what you are listening to, and write a comment or a review in your favorite podcast app. One more thing, do me one more favor, and that is share this podcast with 5 friends. Thank you so much. It means a lot to have you help us out to get this broadcast and this podcast noticed. Thanks a bunch. Okay, I am back. Decoding Duo, Structure Literacy Routines. As we open the book, we come to the table of contents, and the table of contents reads that we're going to introduce the duo. We're going to give a description of the activities using the structured literacy routines. Talk about a simple method. So we go through the scope and practice. We give an overview, the pathways. So they've really gone into detail about how structured literacy instruction is delivered and what are some of the categories of things that you're doing as you work through this book, description of the activities, and then it's very detailed. So it gives just specific language of what you are teaching. And at the top, it tells a little bit about what the topic is that you're talking about. Here we get into, let me see if I back up a page here. Nope. Here we're getting into some of the decodable text that they're going to be issuing. We have tricky word. We have letter sound practice. I'm just skipping through because I don't want to share the whole thing that they're doing here. So we have a teacher slide. We have phonics concepts. We have more about what they're talking about in that particular lesson. We have single word reading. We have the RAN chart. So that's random, automatic. Oh, shucks, I can't remember the word. But it really has to do with what are you picking up on automatically? And here we have some phrases. Here we change it to and incorporate it into sentences. Have a game for the teacher, have dictation. So it just keeps going and getting more in depth and follows the lines of structural literacy. Now, how can an occupational therapist use this? Even if their school is not using it, you can utilize the sequencing of the words that they're utilizing and the building so that when you're working with students at a specific grade level, you can focus, especially if your school is using this system, you can at least be utilizing those words and those sentences that they are seeing in class as remediation. Now, as far as the Morphology Anthology, let's see if we open this one up. What does it look like? So the table of contents includes Morphology Anthology at a glance. So it explains what morphology is, the scope and sequence. So it goes into that systematic, that explicit systematic, cumulative, and multisensory approach of what structured literacy should be as we're looking through the curriculum. And then we have activities. As we dive in here a little bit, we have morphology at a glance. So we're explaining what morphology is. Let me go back a page here. Let's see what it says here about morphology. Morphology really has to do with how words are put together through based on their historical foundation. Was it Greek? Is it Latin? Where did the foundation of the word come from? And how do we help kids understand? So here's that overview of morphology. And we have a 3-day sequence. So there it's very sequential as you're working through the different words. Instructional activity. Let's see if I can go back. And here are these random phrases that students should be able to identify. Oh, we have a members only club. They create a little bit of a game out of it, it looks like. Here's some dictation by a teacher, looking at some of the words that go along with this story, which has to be with about dolphins. And then there's this systematic layout of the lesson as you do lesson 1, lesson 2. We go into the words that they need to be recognizing. And do we add an S or an ES? And what are some of the rules? So it's very interesting how well they have developed this book and the interaction with these cute little characters they have, like this guy in the front, and then with the Decoding Duo. Whoops, I'm bumping the microphone and the video camera. Sorry about that. And these little guys, they come up throughout the book. Now, these are the overview of the teaching program. I am sure that there is more materials that are involved, but these were the samples that they shared with me. So, how does an OT utilize that? I would find out if your school is using this, the Decoding Duo or the Morphology Anthology from Crafting Minds group, and take a look at the sentences that are in there, the spelling words, and from there, utilize that as some of your prompts and some of your reinforcement for what you're teaching. So this can take spelling to a whole new level. Let me come back on screen with you. Okay, so here I am back with you. So again, as you're looking at these different structured literacy products and how to incorporate those in an occupational therapy classroom or remediation session, find out what the teacher has been working on in that classroom. Utilize those same words. Like when we were going through there, we saw a picture of an octopus. How do you use octopus in your session? What games can you create with octopus? What crossword puzzle maybe? What word search would be easy to create because you can create that a- in a spreadsheet as long as you have a very narrow column width. You center all your letters. You can focus on capital letters or small letters, depending on what the student is working on, and take all those words that the children have been working on, especially up to that point, and I would definitely include ones that they haven't worked on for a month or two, because then you can bring back that space practice and it's a varied practice because they probably weren't using that in the general ed classroom. So it's bringing back those words that they've already seen, already used, already incorporated into the lesson plan by the teacher, where we can reinforce them with of different ways of utilizing those resources. So, creating different worksheets. But let's go beyond the worksheets. What about on the swing? You're throwing a ball back and forth. How do you spell octopus? Octupus. As you're throwing the ball back and forth, you're getting that vestibular, you're getting the proprioception, you're getting that kinesthetic movement. So you're getting all of those ancillary sensory parts of the brain working that we so crucially are working on in occupational therapy, and these kids crucially need to help integrate what they're learning. That's just one example of movement. There are so many different examples. You could be having them walking along that sensory path that you have created several years ago. They became very popular, but why not, as they're going through that, every time they jump or walk along the wall or whatever, as they're moving along the wall, let's reinforce how to spell those letters orally, and then we can translate them to written work when we get down to some seated work or some board work or some phone extension work. So I'm trying to, with these product reviews, not necessarily say that they're good, they're bad, but this one, I really like it because it's incorporating fun things for the kids. They get attached to these animals, and research is showing that animals create a much more of emotional connection than person to person, especially when kids are struggling. They get a defeated experience along themselves, and they have all the shame and the guilt that goes along with it, where we need to find other ways to overcome that negative self-talk that these kids are going through. So look for some more product reviews till the end of the school year. This has been Cheri Dowderer at The Writing Glitch. Go be awesome, go be brilliant. You were put here for such a time as this. Thanks a bunch for being here.